as we pointed out in that honeycomb matrix which I showed, the school leader has to decentralize the responsibility, and all the matrices have to be in place so that the load, the responsibility, everything is known to all. Everyone knows all. Finally, we look at one more very important aspect. Are you giving opportunities for them to be divergent thinkers? Are you looking at entrepreneurial attitudes? Are we becoming future ready? So this innovation policy I found, Nivedita, is one thing that the performance indicators is talking about. Okay, it talks about the school innovation policy. And across the manual from domain 1 to 7th domain, there are constant references in the 4th level about the school HR policies in place, the school's recruitment policies in place, the school's innovation policy. So schools have to now understand that from their vision and mission, they need to make an innovation policy for the school, which is very smart. It has to be very specific to that school and the rest of it. It has to be measurable, achievable, and so on. And I think every school, when we talk about this aspect of 6.3.3, you're talking about an innovation policy, because innovation holds the key to continuous improvement. People should have time for students in DIY, do-it-yourself activities. And these activities have to focus on creation and innovation, because our children are truly very good at small, tiny initiatives, which could create a change for a number of students or teachers or others across the community. And we've had Manodarpan showing us a lot of such startup initiatives by students of senior secondary for the blind to read, or the blind people to listen to sounds and cross the road. Great things they've done. It's a question of how does a school bring in all these kind of innovations that are happening. So anything to add on?
When you talk of innovations, I would only want to add here that when we give that opportunity to children or to teachers, we will be amazed at the kind of thought pattern that they bring in, the kind of innovations that they are capable of. Because we are very conservative and very stingy in giving them that space.
True.
We are very scared. We are very scared of giving that space. Once we give them that space, and then sky is the limit.
Absolutely.
Because see, one brain working, or maybe 4 brains, the coordinators and the principal working, 4 brains working vis-a-vis maybe 2,000 brains working, the end result has to be very different.
Absolutely.
So wherever you give them that extra leverage, or maybe that freedom to innovate, the freedom to go wrong, freedom to experiment, amazing outputs come.
I think so. And what is wonderful about the whole thing is, Nivedita, we have a lot of opportunities to create our case studies, examine them, bring in continuous improvement in the school. The sky is the limit. Schools can take up one at a time, work on it, get a team to work, and look at continuous improvement, because that is going to hold the key to the innovation of an institution. And if institutions do not innovate, we actually get out of sync with changes happening in industry outside.
Ma'am, the world is moving at such a fast pace.
Absolutely.
If we are not in sync with the changing technology, the changing scenario, the expectations, everything is in the form of flux.
Absolutely.
If we are not in sync with all these things, more so, it is not whether the principal or the teacher is in the sync. It is very, very important that the children have to fit into the society, maybe 15 years from now, maybe 10 years from now. So that mindset has to be built up in those children. It is irrespective of the case whether I am ready to do it or not. But my children should be ready to fit into that scenario. It is only then that I survive.
Because I think the end game is the child fits into society, into a good job, and becomes a responsible member of that society, which they actually grow into. And when we talk to industry, because Hosur is an industrial town, we have a lot of people telling us that a child in kindergarten now, Vinodita, for example, has got 14 years to come out of your school, 5 years in the college, first level, undergrad, and if at all they go into postgrad, it's about 17 to 20 years. Jobs have not been defined, Vinodita. Job requirements have not been defined. Titles of jobs have not been defined, because companies say we don't even ourselves know what we want 5 years from now. We don't know. So we cannot equip our children with all of the knowledge of the world, but can we equip them with skills that can help them
Exactly.
withstand all of the changes that industry brings? If we
Exactly.
do that as leaders, I think we have made the call right for our children.
What I personally feel is we owe it to our children to give them those skills. We are answerable to them.
Yes.
20 years from now, they will turn back and question us if we do not open up now.
A lot of talk on mindscaping education, and the eduscape is being talked about. We talk about landscaping of schools, which is fine. But what do you do with the mindscaping? What do you do with the eduscaping of your institution? If we focus on these two, other than your landscaping, then there is this beautiful holistic school. We do grow when we share. And leadership has to hinge on sharing and growing.
In fact, we grow faster when we share.
Absolutely.
Because what I know, I know. When we share, I also know what the other knows. What I feel is when we talk of students or children in the Indian context, we are more into training, we are more into discipline. And probably traditionally, even we, when we were young, we were not given that kind of freedom where we could think independently, where we could question the situations, the acceptable norms. But now, if we do not step out of those systems, then I think we will not be able to reach which we aspire to reach.
Absolutely. And the
That
assessment patterns are changing. CBSE has brought in the holistic progress card, which is going to be released shortly. It all calls for constant change, accepting children.
holistic report card, what it should carry and what it should not carry. I would want your inputs on how the schools can frame a holistic report card which would cater to children of different age groups. Should
Yes.
it be different for the fundamental stage and the primary and the secondary? So I would want you to elaborate a little on it.
Right now, Nivedita, we have taken the HPC and the focus is now on the primary section 1 and 2 and grades 3 and 4. So recently, I was sent as a mentor to some 4-5 schools to see what they're doing. This is a pilot project. And as you rightly pointed out, the CBSE is definitely looking into ushering in the HPC in phases. So first would be this foundational stages, which the NEP calls. So those areas, how are schools documenting it? And it's all like the parent, it's a 360-degree holistic card. So there are a few hiccups there which we found out, that schools were not able to get parents on board to come over, sit down with the school, make out the card with them. So there are some challenges. But with all that, we've given suggestions how that can be also overcome. Some schools have very bravely done it, saying, this was a challenge, but this is how we fought it. And I carried that to the other school and said, why don't you try and use this now? So this foundational stage is going to start off as early as possible. And then the middle school will have a different pattern altogether. Because it can't definitely be the same as the foundational stage or the lower primary sections, right? And then the secondary school, which is going to be 9, 10, 11, 12 as per CBSE, the block, the NEP says, that will have a different assessment pattern altogether. And most of it actually, Vinitha is now going to focus on teacher observation. So when every child's card is not an automatically generated card that I fill, I have to observe when I'm teaching.
That is exactly what I was about to ask, is that it means the HPC, the holistic progress card, that we will be forming for different wings. As you say, that CBSE is just working on the foundational till the second standard, and the rest will be following soon. That means there will be a reduction in the predefined parameters that we had in the traditional report cards. The report card will now have provision for giving subjective feedbacks, each child a different feedback from the teachers, from the peer group, and maybe from the child's perspective also.
Yes, I think more it's on the child's perspective, because when the learning is happening, is the teacher documenting their child's perspective. Then next class, you try something else. Is there one question I still have about this lesson? Then another class, one thing I don't agree with what we learned today. Get children to work on it and get every child to have a voice. Because if every child does not have a voice, then this holistic progress card also could become a documented issue. So we are trying to come out of that and make sure that it is so unique as a fingerprint. that
Okay.
every child as an Aadhaar card, that every child's card will speak for that child.
And ma'am, a small question. Will
Yes.
CBSE be providing an overall comprehensive holistic progress card, any format for that, or should we go ahead?
No, there will be a well-defined format card as was given in the past. Schools have to adhere to that. But there will be intensive one-on-one mentoring.
Any last word, ma'am, on domain 6?
First of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity more than the last word. And secondly, as I rightly pointed out, and I'm sure you'll agree, that leadership is not an individual kind of a responsibility. Every leader who's watching this program, could be even a student who's watching it, should realize that they have that embedded leadership in them. Leadership means responsibility. And leadership means taking charge with initiative. Doesn't mean whether someone gave you the job or not. Do I take up because I need to do it for my school, for my society, for the country at large. Thank you so much once again.
It was an absolute pleasure having you here, and I was so looking forward to your session on domain 6, because I knew that when you talk about leadership, it is going to be very, very helpful for people who watch the video, because you have an extreme mastery on the topic. They are proving to be helpful to people, especially to teachers, because not everybody understands from the book, and it is getting a very good overwhelming response. Let's hope that it is of use and of help to people across CBSE.
Absolutely. It will. Best wishes to all the viewers.